There he is right there. That's a good bear.
Hey, I'm Steve Rinella from MeatEater, and this is John Hayes from Hayes Taxidermy Studio in Libby, Montana. And what we're going to cover today is something very important for anyone who has bear hunted, aspires to bear hunt, and get a bear rug or a full-size mount made with their bear. What we're going to cover with John is how a hunter, like me or you, can handle a bear in the field so that when you bring it to a taxidermist for a rug, the taxidermist says, "This is amazing. This is perfect."
We can do a perfect mount with this.
Instead of the taxidermist going, "Oh my."
Like, I don't know if we can save this.
I don't know if we can save it.
Or the classic, you're probably gonna see some of that showing through at the end of the mount.
Some
I can
of that
only
showing
hide
through in
so
the work.
much. Yeah, I can only hide so much.
What percentage, just to start us off, of hunter skinned bears that come into you, what percent are you like, perfect?
10% maybe.
Really?
Maybe 10%, yeah.
And then how many bears have you handled in your career?
A few thousand bears, black
Okay.
bears. I've skinned probably at least 1,500 to 1,800 bears in my life.
Okay. So you're getting this information from someone who really knows, and what's most important is you're getting it not from like the guy at the bar, not from a guide, you're getting it from the taxidermist who wants to give you the best bear rug possible. And so what we're gonna cover is a bunch of things. We're gonna start out, where do you make your cuts? How do you handle decisions around whether you should do the head, whether you should do the feet, how much fat and meat can be on the hide, how you should never, ever, ever salt it unless it's been
Completely put up.
completely professionally fleshed. We're gonna get into
Yep.
cover all that stuff.
Yes.
But the first thing we're gonna cover, John, if you wanna take it away.
All that has been done so far, it was a center line cut was started right at the anus and brought up to the base of the sternum to remove the guts.
Just a gutting incision.
Yep, just a gutting
And
incision.
you didn't even get into the sternum.
Nope, just right up to the base of it.
Okay.
And you just want to make sure that you stay center. I'll do the back leg incision first.
Okay, this is one, I'll tell you, to be honest with you, where I don't even know where you want this cut.
When you look at the back of the leg, you can see where the hair comes together. See that little cowlick starting to stand up?
Yep.
So that's dead center.
Okay, so here's the back of the pad, the furthest part of the pad, back. You're starting there.
Yep. And then you'll run that incision straight down the center of that thigh and the calf.
Got it. See, now you can see that incision.
Straight down the leg.
See, picture what he's saying, like if you're in the field in the woods, not working on a workbench, you're down, you know, you're cut, you're working down almost at the ground
Yeah.
when that thing's laying back. So everything's symmetrical, obviously. You're not gonna cut that one different now.
Yep, nope. Symmetry is basically all you're looking for.
What people will generally call these is, John's making is what we would call opening cuts. What do you guys call them? You're saying
Opening cut,
Okay.
primary incision.
It doesn't matter the order in which you do these, right? Like you do the front legs, back legs, whatever first. We have the initial gutting incision up to the sternum. He's got the back done, and now he's gonna finish this cut.
So I go up, you can see where the base of the skull is.
Okay.
So you know that you can always go up into here and you can always see center of that.
So you don't want people splitting out to the lip.
No,
No.
not usually right away. We'll take out as far as we need to go when we do the mount.
So in the field, start at the base
Yep,
of the skull.
base of the skull.
See, I'm tipping his head, and that's like that's where the skull folds.
Yep, that's your best bet to start with. And there's always that little cowlick right there in the middle of the chest. So you always have kind of a pretty obvious track.
That cowlick is normal?
Yeah, they would almost always have a little cowlick right there. I like to go with the hair when you're coming down the chest instead of running it all the way up. A lot of times I'll stop and then come back down to the hair so you don't cut this hair
You're not
off.
cutting as much of it.
Yeah, it'll part it out of the way if you can get under the skin and go down.
Got it.
Versus if you come right up through it,
You're
just
cutting
cut
a bunch.
one side right
Yeah,
off.
Got it. Okay, front leg cuts.
So now, this is another one. You're looking for that center mark, right? So you want to go right down the back. It's usually right beside this little pad, a little pad button. So you go find the center, go right down the center to the elbow, and then you'd go through the bicep, tricep, group
Yep.
and intersect straight across into this incision.
Got it.
Since this one has a chevron on its chest, if you make that cut straight through, when you do the rug, that ends up like in the armpit. It's just like a little white dot. You don't really, and you would end up with this little tiny spot. So on a big chevron like this, we'll go down, come to the bicep, tricep, and then when we get to that white, we'll go all the way to the bone.
Oh, really?
And then when you make the rug, it sits right here on the top of the shoulder. It goes full length of the shoulder.
Oh.
And you won't lose any of it.
You get what he's saying, like if this wasn't here, his cut would, we'll see when you get there. If this wasn't here, his cut would come in, but he wants to preserve this piece. He wants to preserve this throat patch. So come in center of the front pad.
Gonna get down to that elbow bone.
Yep. Turn at the elbow,
Yep.
hold that leg, you're good.
I'm good. And then you can feel where the bicep, tricep group is right there.
Oh yeah.
Yep, and that's about 50-50 every time. So you can just go right through that group.
And then here's where you're going,
Yeah,
and
here's
taking
where-
a detour. Got it. That's it for opening cuts, right?
Yep.
You're not gonna take that up any higher.
Nope. No,
And we'll skin the head,
yep,
we'll tube it out of there.
tube it out of there.
All right. So now you're just to start walking the hide back.
Yep, just
Skinning.
skinning her out now.
You don't recommend that a hunter tries to clean skin.
You can do a lot of damage. You know, I think a happy medium would just be don't leave 3 inches of fat on it, especially
Yeah.
if you're having to pack it out.
Yeah. If someone says clean skin, what they're talking about is they're just removing clean leather from the animal and they're leaving all the fat and meat on the carcass. He's recommending against trying to clean skin it. So he's leaving a little bit, like, I mean, not even a 1/4 inch of fat on there.
And if you start cutting holes, adjust. Don't be afraid to stop doing what you're doing and leave a little extra.
And you're just doing nice little, like, gentle little strokes, man.
Yeah, the big pushes, that's just on the start. Then everything else, you just kind of finesse it off.
Yeah.
You know.
You're like thoughtfully, deliberately making every cut.
Yep. Man, there's a lot of fat on this guy.
Next to people making their opening cuts in the wrong place, them screwing up the head is second. Screwing up the feet is third.
Third. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
We're gonna get into the feet right now.
I prefer if somebody brings it in and they leave the whole foot in from the first joint. It
Got
gives
it.
us a better purchase to hold on to skin the rest of the bones out of the toes versus guys that cut it off right here and, and leave just the fingers in, the tips of the toes.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not the first person to point this out. The anatomy on bears and humans is almost startling in some of the similarities. He's going to right here.
Yep.
He's gonna free up all the way around that wrist joint.
So right here, where there's that little pad, that little miniature pad, we'll start splitting that away. And same on this side, until you end up all the way up to the tip of the pad on that first and primary incision we made. So then once you get to that point, you can see where it wants to bend right there. And it is just the same as us. It's right there where those wrinkles are. And that's what you're gonna target. Just like that.
Yep. Take note of that and that. No bone saws. You're just cutting the tendons. No sharp edges, you just got bone. Now, you resume skinning, right? Now you're right back to just skinning.
Yep,
all the way
just
to the backbone.
back to skinning all the way down now. Just 3 feet to go. On these, it's a little different spot. It's not quite like our normal front foot. You can see right back here, there's that big, is that a ligament or a tendon, whatever that is?
It's the gambrel
So you gotta cut.
in butcher talk.
You get, right? So you gotta cut above that.
You got to cut up. So you're cutting the Achilles tendon.
Yep. And then we're gonna try to get through the joint up on the side.
Okay. So cut the Achilles tendon. Got it.
Close.
You make it look easy, man.
Not yet. No, there it is. And you can see how that was situated in there.
Up, yep.
You cut straight through the back, and then I start twisting the foot so it opens that joint up, and then you can get right onto the joint. And that's it. And you can just keep cutting at it, but at a certain point, you still have a lot of skin left. And if you just twist it that last little bit, you don't foul your blade out.
Sure.
So we've pretty much got it skinned down all the way to the center, and that's the tailbone right there.
Do you want guys to split the tail or just cut the tailbone off?
Whichever's you're most comfortable with, because if you do cut your tail crooked, when you try to stretch it for the rug, it is hard to maintain it. So
I would suggest people, if you don't care, I would cut the tailbone off.
cut tailbone off. It's a
cool thing to know how to do it, but if you're gonna, if it's your first bear, whatever, that's it. Tail's done.
So you just, what I do is I'll start, and the vertebrae are really close together, they're small. So you're not gonna saw through it. There's just a spot that it'll pass right through. There's like no bone to hit. So you just gently press, gently press, gently press, and
it'll find a gap.
And then it'll just cut right through.
So if you're sitting around camp bored out of your mind, you can always take it, slit it down, and skin the tail out. But a guy like John's not gonna care if you leave it in there. Okay, so he's got all the major obstacles taken care of now, except one, meaning opening cuts are done, the 4 legs are done, and right now he's just gonna skin it down. Like when you're doing this, you imagine you're skinning it down to the backbone, skin that down to get to the backbone, and then the hide's gonna be freed up. At this point, this thing is, besides the head, this thing is skinned back. So chin, ears, this area, everything's clean.
Off the carcass.
You want to change the position now to make it easy to work on the head.
Yes, so if you have the luxury of having it elevated, easiest way to do it is we'll get the hide pulled all the way underneath it and leave it in this exact same position on its back.
With the hide over here.
And we'll have the hide hang off, and that'll help pull the head open so that you can get at it with a knife.
Got it. There, you know what, let's just slide it out, and then we'll slide it back.
Which way do you want to slide it?
Just come out this way, pull the hide free.
So now that we got everything in position, it's same as that wrist, you're gonna look for that bend point. And you can see it follows right in through here.
This actually surprises me that you like to skin the head after it's been severed. Yeah,
because then I can get it back up where it's convenient instead of trying to do it while it's on carcass.
Okay.
So this is the bone right here. Hard to cut on this big one.
Cut through the windpipe. So what he's cutting there is, he's cutting where the spine and the skull meet. It's a very tricky little pain in the ass joint.
It's right
It's the
there.
kind of thing you do got to mess with, but you can get it. You don't need to bone saw this stuff.
You can see it starting right there, that point. And then,
There you go, you got it.
so you can see how it opened up right there.
Nice. Great.
And that's it.
All right, you could, without penalty, bring this to you
Yep.
without skinning the head. However, there are occasions when you do want to skin the head. 1, you might just like to know how to do it and do it. 2, again, it lightens the load. 3, you might live in a place where they want you to present the skull.
Mandatory.
Yeah, and they'll specify you need to present an unfrozen, skinned out skull.
Yep.
And so at that case, you're gonna wanna know how to get this thing out of here. But again, if that's not your requirement in your state, it's not too much extra weight, you'd roll this thing up, as we'll show you when we're done, bring it down to the taxidermist, he'll be fine. But if you wanna know how to do your head, we're gonna do the head now. It's cool to know.
It is. And it's basically the same for all animals. Even if you're caping out a deer, it's still the same basic concept around the eyes and the mouth. And I always start on the top of the head. So this is chin down. That way you can just kind of basically work the hide back so you can start trying to find your ear butts.
Yeah, so what he's getting at now is you imagine he's gonna cut the ear off, okay? But you wanna cut the ear off and leave all that cartilage there. Like if you imagine imagine you're petting a dog or something, right? And you're scratching the base of the ear. Picture that big wad of cartilage up against the skull. That wad of cartilage is coming off.
All in one piece, yeah. So it's actually the cartilage and the muscle. Because you can't really see the cartilage when you're first coming around the head. What you do start to see on an ear is this weird glandular looking meat. Like totally different fat looking than anything else. That's always on the ear, on everything. You can see where like this is normal fat color, that creamy white or meat, and then there's this off brown. That's always red, so that's like a great sign when we're teaching somebody in the shop how to cape stuff out. Then you just start getting your thumb under it.
There
Boom,
it is.
There's the ear canal. And it's right underneath that.
Leaving all that cartilage and everything inside there. Leave that for the taxidermist to deal with. Okay, there's 2 more areas that are tricky. The eye's trickier than the mouth, I'd say, on these, because they got a real heavy lip, so
Yeah.
it's not dangerous like some fur bears are. Is getting the eye. And just like the ear, you want to get the eye and leave everything intact and get it sliced pretty clean. Because you don't want to mess up the eyelashes, the corner of the eye. That stuff's hard to fix,
And
right?
you want the inner eyelid. You want it to where it actually hooks onto the ball all the way in, because that's what we tuck back underneath
Got it,
the
yep.
clay to the glass.
And that's hard stuff to fix.
Yes, missing eyelashes when they cut the upper lid off. It's always the back corner. Usually they always cut
Yep.
that back corner off. They're
It's
trying to
in.
find it.
It's hard to get in there.
Yeah, you're like, I know the eye's coming, I know it's coming, then you end up cutting it. This, like you can see there's really not any muscle features right here. Once you got past that ear, it's just pretty smooth. Then you'll start seeing this again. And you're getting close to your eyes at that point. Now, when you're cutting for your eye, instead of like when you're skinning the bear, usually I'm striking against the hide. But when you start caping the head out on anything, you're cutting that you're moving your hide forward, but you're cutting straight down. You're not fishing underneath it until you can get to that eye. And you just make sure you pull hard enough that you can see that line start to that stretch. That white stretch. There, now you can feel where the eye is going to be. There. Once we get past the back corner of the eye where we know we're not cutting it loose, and you can see we cleared that, everything's intact. I'll stick my finger through the actual eye opening, and then I can pull it tight while I'm skinning. It gives me something to hold on to.
Other side.
Other side. So now that you got the eyes cleared, you got your ears off, you got your eyes, the next thing you'll see right in front of the eye and low is you start seeing that cheek. That's the inner part of the mouth. And you can see it's pretty obvious once you get this far. Orbital bone, right in the front of the eye, it's usually straight below that is where your cheek starts on a bear. So if you get that far, you know it's just straight below it. And it's just right here. And then you can see the teeth showing up, right? And then when you get your hand into its mouth.
Into the corner, yep.
Yep, right in the corner of the mouth. And then you can lift up. A lot of times, the first cuts will usually be, if somebody messes it up, it'll be right there at the beginning, and they'll cut through the hide.
Okay, the last thing we're gonna do here is he's gonna sever the cartilage on the nose. And again, you're gonna leave a lot. You're gonna come right off the end of the skull, and you can kind of feel it move around, right? Like you know
Yeah,
where
you
can feel what's bone and what's not bone, and everything that's not bone is gonna go with the hide.
Yeah, you don't have to skimp. There's no reason to try to get right to the end of the nose pad. You can take it off quite a ways back. And then once you make that cut, just make sure you follow the bone all the way down so you don't cut the end of the nose or the upper lip off.
Okay, so there, nose, all that stays with the hide.
So now you're down to
we're at the final.
final, last of the last. So you just want to make sure you don't lose this inner portion. You just follow right along the edge of the canine line there.
Okay. So let's take a look at what we got now. Skinned out head, you got the ears, and again, just like you got all that base of the cartilage. Eyes are perfect, just small, very small eye holes. Eyelids intact. Nose, everything there. Lips, all parts of the lips, everything there. No cuts through the lips. It's like you've done it before.
Couple times. No taxidermist would have any complaints if you brought one in at this point. That's ready to go.
Great. So, don't put salt on it.
No, this
It's not flesh.
This is not ready for salt.
Do what to it though? How do you want it presented to you? Rolled up?
Rolled up, skin to skin. But if you take like a bear like this, nice fat, you skinned it out, and it would skin quick in the fall, especially if you weren't like killing yourself trying to get it super clean. You could skin it out relatively quick, and it would still have a lot of heat in it. Got it. And then
Oh.
you fold it up, bag it up, and throw it in a cooler at camp. And
I hadn't thought of that. It's still got body heat.
It'll rot. It'll rot before it ever cools off.
So insulated from
fat and hair.
Yeah, that's a good point to bring up.
So
cool that sucker off.
Yep, just leave it out. If you get it home and you have a garage floor, just lay it just like this on the garage floor. Just let it cool off.
It'll rot just like a hunk of hot meat.
Yep, it'll cook right in that cooler.
Got it. That's a good tip to remind people of, to not spoil it.
That's some of the most common damage, like bears and mountain goats, that we see.
All right, guys, so there you have it. This bear is ready to go. So when you go down to Hayes Taxidermy Studio and talk to John, John will get the bear. He will open it up. He will compliment you on your bear because you did what? You did your skinning cuts. You did your opening cuts in the right places.
Everything will be symmetrical.
Yep, so that when that rug comes back to you and you get a nice bear rug, the sides are the same.
Yep, your legs will be the same.
He's not lopsided and one chunk of hide over here, but on the other side, the chunk of hide over there, like a symmetrical, beautiful bear rug. You get back, you're happy with the taxidermist, they're happy with you because you made your skinning cuts in the right place. You cut your feet off at the right joint. You got to the head, and again, you left all the cartilage on the ears, you got the eye, you got the lips, everything.
No damage. The shortest hair on the bear is right on his face, and that's the spot everybody looks at. So if you can keep from damaging right around the eyes and the muzzle, it's like cutting the hide. It happens, and it's okay. It's repairable. Just try to keep it to a minimum.
So that's how you skin it. I love them, man. I've kept a couple. I've given them some away as gifts. I love bear rugs, man. They're great.
They're pretty.
Yeah,
it is a really, really beautiful piece of work.
And I'll say that John does a lot of them and does just a phenomenal job on bear hides. So if you can get it to John, get it to John. If you got to settle, you have to settle.
Hopefully you don't have to settle.